From the golden fields of Saturday glory, strap on the helmet and into the huddle. It's Mr. Gridiron.
Yes, in coverage, I'm playing press. You can text, but if it ain't looking right, I'm swiping left. Next.
Boy, don't hate the player, hate the game now. Killing it just won't be the same now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now. Boy, don't hate the player, hate the game now. Killing it just won't be the same now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now.
Well, what is up, everybody? Guess the light wasn't coming on. We get the shade here. There's a little bit of a storm brewing up in central upstate New York. So I do apologize if there becomes any technical difficulties on that end. Hearing some rain and some thunder outside. So keep that in mind. This is Mr. Gridiron, your host, Thomas Christopher of the League Winners, powered by the League Winners, nationally credentialed college football organization and consulting services. This is a live show, and we talk about college football, and we talk some high school football sometimes, and we'll dabble in some NFL stuff too. But if you're watching the show, please make sure to click that like button. It's completely free to do so. The stream's live on all your favorite platforms on social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and we also are found wherever your favorite shows and podcasts are found, including Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. This is a live show, like I said, so if you feel free to leave a comment, want to get involved in the conversation, please feel free to do so on the apps that allow you that opportunity. I will get back to you and directly on the show live. That's a great thing, right? And if you do watch this show after it ends airing and finishes airing, give me 24 to 48 hours, and I'll make sure to get back to you in due time. Now, with that being said, we have a fantastic show today. We'll talk some Lane Kiffin stuff. We have a film, our film room flash now features Caden Veltkamp of a nice spring session that he had last year, fit a ball into a tight window. Caden Veltkamp of the Florida Atlantic Owls. He actually had shoulder surgery and looks to be taking off again this year, so we'll see how that is. He'll be starting with summer practices, and we also got the morning blitz where we'll talk about Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, Steve Sarkisian, even John Summerall had a little comment. But before we do and get into all of that fun stuff, we might have a player interview for you as well. We'll see. But before we get into all that fun stuff, let's take a break with our morning huddle and go over some of the biggest news in college football.
Put the ball! Let's go, family on three! 1, 2, 3, family!
Now, if you've been paying attention to the news, Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy was actually shot at a concert. And so far, it seems like the three suspects were three former teammates of his high school program. Ahmad Hardy seems to be in nice condition. He's actually stable now. And hopefully that his recovery process continues to go well. Really unfortunate to see. You never, ever want to see somebody get shot. I mean, honestly, right? It's very, very insane world that we live in. So we hope that he goes and gets better and healthy soon. We also have ESPN College GameDay announces they'll be in Baton Rouge to start the 2026 college football season. That'll be very fascinating to see how that goes. There's new people working behind the scenes in the comms and everything for College GameDay. Now they'll have a full year under their belt as they perform. Jabari Watkins, big wide receiver prospect, actually canceled his visit to FSU. That's very fascinating to see. We're hearing some rumors that Mike Norvell is starting to lose his ground in the recruiting trail. Whether or not that's true, who knows? But this is a step in the direction where, hey, maybe those rumors might have some walking legs to it. Recently, yesterday, the ACC ADs and head coaches had a discussion upon expanding the college football playoff to 24 teams, and reports are that they are in full support behind the 24-team playoff structure. That is the ACC and their athletic directors. So that'll be very fascinating to see how that goes with a lot of movement. We've actually talked about this on the show already about the college football playoff potentially expanding to 24 teams in the future, and that future seems to be coming closer than not. We also will talk about 2025 college football revenue, and I'm going to try to bring this up if I can, because it shows a good graph. I believe it shows all all of the teams on here, but I do want to hit this point before we get on some of the other news. And I'm sorry, I apologize. I got my head down right now. I'm just trying to make sure I can find this for you guys. JJ Fuller 72. That is who posted the report. And I wonder if he has it on here from a day ago. Yep, there it goes. All right, and I'll bring this up for you guys and everybody watching on audio only. We're talking about the FBS revenue from their fiscal year 1. All the teams will get a look on that. Give me 1 second if I can find it on here. Bring it up. And I'll go through all the lists, so anybody listening on the audio-only version will be able to hear this as well. Now, the new EADA grand total revenue for the fiscal year of 2025, this includes all FBS schools. It does not include military academies because they do not have to report on that. Now, with that being said, number 1 was Texas with $343.1 million. Ohio State was number 2. Notre Dame, number 3, and Independent. So that's very fascinating to see that. They come in at number 3. Tennessee is at 4. Penn State's 5. And then rounding out the top 10 is Alabama, Michigan, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and USC. As you can see here, all Big Ten SEC schools outside of Notre Dame, which is they are more of a ACC team, at least with the relationship that they currently have. We might see that change considering the bracket that they're in. Now, as we go through 11 through 20, Georgia is the number 11 spot. Miami, Florida is at 12 with $230.5 million. LSU is at 13 there with 223. Then we have Nebraska, Auburn, South Carolina, Florida, Arkansas, Stanford, and Florida State. Very surprising to see Stanford that high up, to be honest with you. I know they have a good alumni and I know they have a good fan base, but just did not expect them to get that revenue inside the top 20. That's actually pretty impressive. I wasn't expecting to see them as one of the ACC teams inside the top 20. Now, as we go to 21 to 30, we have Wisconsin, Kentucky, Clemson, Indiana, Duke, Missouri, North Carolina, Iowa, Washington, and Illinois. Now, Washington does have a star on it, and I believe he has a disclosure there when it's a half-share payout from conference distributions. So that's not all based on themselves. That's based on what they're receiving from the conference as well. So keep that in mind. I will make sure to note that for any teams that are starred here, that is why they are there. So that is the top 30. As we go to 31 through 40, Kansas hits that 31 spot. UCLA, mentioned them in the early riser this week. They're at number 32. California right behind them at 33. Then we have Rutgers at 34 and Ole Miss just behind them at 35. Oregon at 167.1, but they also received that conference a half share. We go to Colorado right behind them, Michigan State, Mississippi State, and then Minnesota. Still so far, no non-autonomy schools, no group of 6 schools in here yet. That's in the top 40. As we hit the top 50, we have TCU, Louisville, Oklahoma State, BYU, who also gets that half share at 153.4. They come in at 44. Virginia Tech's number 45, Pittsburgh 46, Virginia 47, Purdue 48, and SMU is 49. SMU has a different notation on it where SMU does not receive media contract portions in their conference distribution. So that's actually incredibly fascinating that they're still within the top 50 without receiving that. Arizona, they have a big fan base too, great community over there at South Methodist. Arizona State is top 50. They round out the top 50 there. Going from 51 to 60, still no group of 6 teams yet, by the way. We have Vandy, Baylor, and Boston College are 51 through 53. We have Georgia Tech at 54, NC State at 55, and then rounding out to 60, it's Arizona, Northwestern, Texas Tech. Expect that to be higher next year. Maryland and Utah are in the top 60. Out of all of these programs so far, Texas Tech is the most surprising where they are based on the money that they have, but you can almost assuredly assume that is going to change as these numbers come out for next year. I'm expecting 2026, they should be at least in the top 50. I would think closer to that 30 number. Then we have from 61 to 70, we finally get our first group of 6 school, and it's none other than USF at 122.1. Now that's fascinating. Now there's always rumors that USF is looking to expand themselves and get into an autonomy conference program, become an autonomy conference program, and numbers like this really show why, because it is incredibly impressive to see them above, not just as the number one group of 6 school, but above multiple power programs as well, because right below them Syracuse at 62, then Cincinnati's at 63. They also get that half share from the conference. West Virginia and Wake Forest round out through 64 and 5. UCF, which is also fascinating that USF is above their old-time rival in UCF. UCF also gets that half share, so that's even more impressive from USF's part. And then Oregon State is actually the second group of 6 team on this list, actually, that is surprising to me. Did not expect that. They come in at 67 with 104.8 mil. And then we have Iowa State, Kansas State, and then Houston also gets that half share from the conference, is at number 70. Very fascinating. So far, some of the biggest surprises is how low Texas Tech was, coming in at number 58. And then we have USF at 61. That was very impressive to me as well. I'm kind of surprised about Oregon State being at 67. So as we go through 71 to 80, we have UConn, San Diego State, and Boise State. Then we go to Washington and UNLV. Then we have Temple, Rice, James Madison, East Carolina, and Tulane. I'm a little bit surprised James Madison isn't a little bit higher up, but still, considering their location in Harrisburg, not necessarily the biggest town per se. I do think that they have a lot of room to grow, especially now that they have consistently, they made it into the college football playoff this past year. So I'm expecting that market base is going to grow a lot too, and should help them with the total revenue going forward. So going through 81 to 90, and what's also very fascinating is that noticing some of these schools that are ahead of some more powerhouse type of schools, especially, being ahead of Memphis. I mean, I don't think Tulane's been called. Tulane was behind James Madison and East Carolina and Rice and Temple and UNLV. So it's kind of surprising that some powerhouses in the conferences, in the group of 6 conferences, aren't necessarily performing as well in the revenue share. So going from 81 to 90, Memphis is there, and then Delaware is at 82 at 65 and a half. Fresno State, Liberty, New Mexico round out the 80 to 85, and then going to 90, it's Tulsa, North Texas, UMass, Colorado State, and Charlotte. A little surprised Charlotte's actually this high too. Good for them. And 91 to 100, we have UTSA, Hawaii, Nevada, Old Dominion, Texas State, Wyoming, Buffalo, Florida Atlantic, Utah State, and Coastal Carolina round out the top 100. By the way, it's worth mentioning that Houston is the lowest power conference school on this list. They come in at 70, but they are one of the newer programs that jumped up to the P4 level, to the autonomy level. Going from 100 to 110, we have Marshall, Sacramento State, App State, UAB, and Western Michigan. And then finishing out through 110, we have Louisiana, San Jose State, FIU, Kennesaw State, and Miami. One of the big jumpers I'm probably expecting here is FIU, considering if they can keep Willie Simmons, I think that's going to be massive for them. He's a fantastic coach, obviously, got them to a bowl game in his first year as the head coach for the Panthers. But more so than that, just the way he's building that program, the base that they're in Miami, it only helps them going forward. So I think that FIU has potential to be a big jumper here. And then we go through 111 to 120. We have Georgia State, Middle Tennessee, Troy, Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan, Georgia Southern, Kent State, New Mexico State, and Bowling Green. Not too surprised there. And then I'm going to go from 120 to the final 135 on this list. We have North Dakota State, Jacksonville State, NIU, Louisiana Tech, Arkansas State, Akron, Ohio, South Alabama, UTEP, and Sam Houston go through 130. And then to 135, we have Southern Miss, Western Kentucky, which I'm very surprised that Western Kentucky's that low, considering the program is not bad at all. And then we have Ball State, Missouri State, and ULM. This also is a notification here that all schools, public and private, are required to self-report these EADA, U.S. Department of Education figures each year. Other revenue figures obtained from public schools' financial and tax documents may vary. However, this database is worthwhile to report since it is standardized and includes all private schools as well. And like I said, that comes from Jeff Fuller. You guys can find Jeff Fuller at JJ Fuller, FULLER 72 on X/Twitter, however you call it. And for more visual readers, if you want to see the visuals right here, we got that for you as well. Once again, shout out to Jeff for that. Like I said, kind of surprised a little bit by some of these teams. South Florida being at 61 is a fantastic for them. Really think that's great. And Syracuse a little bit lower than I expected them to be. We had Houston at 70. That's the lowest FBS program. It's a little surprised James Madison at 78 wasn't a little higher. Also very surprised at 67 is Oregon State coming in at 67. And then we have, of course, the top three there, Texas, Ohio State. Not too surprised about that. Notre Dame at number 3 is great news for them. Could be bad news for the ACC, depending on how that future goes with how much because Notre Dame has this really weird relationship with the ACC and college football in and of itself. But with that being said, I wanted to make sure to get that news out there. I hope you guys really appreciate that stuff. Always love and very interested seeing how these revenue sharings work out and what teams and universities are making the right steps to increase revenue, not just to help their university, but to help their players in the process as well. Big fan of that. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about the biggest news of this show. So stay tuned for the Morning Blitz. Yeah, I hope you guys, I don't know if you guys have been seeing the news, but Lane Kiffin and the shots taken at Ole Miss, whether he intended to or not, man, if you're an Ole Miss fan, it's hard to still, be thankful for, give this guy the benefit of the doubt for what he's done for the program. Talking to the, ESPN and in an article by Vanity Fair, Lane Kiffin says some top recruits would tell him they were not interested in coming to Ole Miss. They would say, and this is a quote in the Vanity Fair article, "Hey, coach, we really like you, but my grandparents aren't letting me move to Oxford, Mississippi. That doesn't come up when you say Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Parents were sitting here this weekend saying the campus diversity feels so great. It feels like there's no segregation, and we want that for our kid because that's the real world." And now this is why it's very interesting, because there have been stories, and I was actually, before this show went live, I've been trying to find this video that I saw from a podcast that featured players that went to Ole Miss, and they had some pretty damning things to say about the university and the racism that occurred there between some of the fraternities. And I know numbers have came up about the population, have the highest acceptance of African Americans, things of that nature. But then on the other hand, there's been former players that have talked about that, and some very interesting stories about the fraternities there, the Confederate flags and things of that nature. Now, Kiffin did try to clarify his remark the following day as he talked to On3. This is when he says, "I hope my comments come across respectful to Ole Miss, or some things I'm saying that are factual. They're not shots." And then he followed up with that with he saying, "I really apologize if anybody at Ole Miss or in Mississippi was offended. In a 4-hour interview, I was asked a lot of questions on a lot of things, and Ole Miss has been wonderful to me and my family. I was asked questions about the differences in recruiting, and I said a narrative that we battled there from some out-of-state Black parents and grandparents was not wanting their kids to move to Mississippi. That's a narrative that coaches have been fighting forever. It wasn't calculated by bringing it up." So I mean, on one hand, Kiffin is not wrong, right? If these parents are going out and telling him exclusively that they don't want their kids to be going to that program because of the stigma behind not just the university, but the state, it's hard to blame Kiffin if that's what he's being told. But on the other hand, I am a person who thinks when you leave a place, especially the way that he left Ole Miss, right? He didn't leave Ole Miss under the greatest of circumstances. There was some shadiness behind the way he left Ole Miss, and there was obviously some hard feelings, not just from fans, but members of staff too, right? So what my thought process is when you leave a place like that in that nature, it's a lot better if you no longer keep them in your mouth, so to speak. There's no point, even if it's not necessarily bad, you never know where a question could go or what kind of comment could be taken out of context. So it's always better to just completely try to avoid any conversation with, keep the X's in the past kind of thing. If you only talk about something, make sure it's in good, make sure it can't be misconstrued in a way that Kiffin's comments have now been, misconstrued. So if you are in that nature and in that boat that Kiffin found himself in, just don't even talk about Ole Miss. You can just ignore the Ole Miss part, talk about LSU and how great it is to recruit at LSU and how, it's very fun. You don't have to say it's easier. Media training and I get it. A guy like Kiffin that's consistently scrutinized by the media regardless is going to have issues where everything that he says can be parsed through and try to be spun a certain way. So I do understand that. But at the same time, man, just stop talking. Just don't even mention Ole Miss. Just stop mentioning it because you're going to find yourself in headlines and things like that. And it's just not going to go good. And you're going to be backtracking comments like you are now, where if you didn't have any ill intent behind it, why even make an apology about it? Just keeps finding yourself in tabloids and things of that nature. Maybe that's what he wants. Kiffin is a guy that understands media in that sense. He understands what can sell, what can continue to generate him being within the newsrooms, right? And that's not a bad thing either. But if he truly wants to avoid situations like this and he's not trying to do it purposefully, then it's something where it's like, hey man, just take a deep breath, stop what you're doing, don't mention the school. He doesn't really mention Florida Atlantic, right? He was the head coach of Florida Atlantic too. That's almost ancient history now to a lot of people. Most people don't even. I haven't heard that him being brought up as the head coach of Florida Atlantic in years now, right? Since he went to Ole Miss, first got to Ole Miss, and that's just disappeared now. So why can't you just use that same kind of thing? Where you only talk great about, and I understand there's always stuff behind the scenes that happens between coaches and administrations and things of that nature. But just keep the past in the past. But this doesn't even touch the tip of the iceberg because not only did Lane Kiffin have something to say about Ole Miss, but another SEC coach has talked about Ole Miss and rips this time they're ripping their academic standards, and that is Texas Longhorns head coach Steve Sarkisian. And this came just one day after, right? So the University of Texas Athletic Department spokesman told ESPN on Tuesday that Sarkisian's comments were part of a larger conversation about tampering, and he was stressing the importance of Texas academics, which is a roundabout way of trying to, appeal to that blowback. But Sarkisian's comments said at Texas, and this is hilarious, at Texas, we will only take 50% of a player's academic credit hours, Sarkisian told USA Today. You may be a semester from graduating, but you're going all the way back to 50% if you play here and want a degree. But at Ole Miss, they can take you. All you have to do is take basket weaving, and you can get an Ole Miss degree. That is an insane shot. And it comes a day after Lane Kiffin had a shot at it as the LSU head coach now. Then we see Sarkisian come at it. And I'm just like, this is hilarious, right? This is the kind of stuff that I personally want in my sports. I want coaches to make little comments to their, conference opponents and rivals. I like that stuff. It gets, it's another reason for not just the players, but the fans and everybody to get up in the morning or get ready for game day, game week, however you want to say it. It gives them something to talk about in the off season, get themselves hyped up. For maybe not, even if not this year, but it just continues to build a relationship and a rivalry for following years, when they do play again, because not all conference teams will play each other in the season, especially with the way the conferences have boomed. But I'm a fan of Sarkisian saying that, and now it's a little dig, maybe a little unnecessary dig. But if that's what he's trying to do, now if he's just being mean for the sake of being mean, that's completely different. But if he's doing it as a try to, a brash kind of way of getting a rise out of somebody, then I respect it. And even more hilarious, and I guess this will be our little meme of the day here, is that new Florida head coach John Summerall gave his 2 cents, and he actually posted on X. I'm bringing this up right now. John Summerall, grateful to coach at a top 10 public university that also offers advanced basket weaving. And then he has the emoji of the gator. John Summerall is freaking fantastic, by the way. Big fan of him. Love that comment coming out. But in the end, I mean, this is what you want, right? This is what you want from the SEC. This is what you want from college football coaches. You want to create conference tension, conference rivalries. And if you see coaches taking little digs at the other guys and the other programs, I'm a big fan of that. I'm all for that, actually, especially being a defensive guy growing up. I like that kind of, I'm going right at you. You're coming right at me. We're going to make some fun times out of this, and it's going to be great. But, I mean, just go back to Kiffin real quick. I mean, what are you doing, Kiffin? Come on, man. Just keep Ole Miss out the mouth. Stay at LSU. You can get your little cheeky comment in after you beat Ole Miss whenever you play them. But for now, man, why even bother? Unless you want it. But that has been this week's section and segment of the Morning Blitz. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday. The Morning Blitz will be live, so make sure you guys tune in for that. And like I said, every Wednesday we'll have the Morning Blitz out. It'll either be one of the biggest stories in college football that won't be included in our Morning Huddle as we go into more depth upon that, or it'll be one of my biggest hot takes as we get closer to the college football season. Now, before we continue, make sure to click that like button. It's completely free to do so. Really appreciate everybody who's watching and been tuning in. I really do appreciate that as well. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter/X. So make sure you guys leave a comment, leave a like, and share if you want to. This is a live show, like I just said. So if you do leave a comment, I'll make sure to get back to you immediately. Wednesday shows only run from 8 to 9, but we do not 8 to 10 Monday and Friday. We're also found wherever your podcasts are found on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. And with that being said, our next segment is one of my favorite segments, to be honest with you, and that is our Film Room Flash. Now, if you're new to this show, our Film Room Flash, every week, every time we do the show, I try to get to at least one play or player, break down a little bit of their film, either if it's a play or the player in and of itself. And we'll try to break down one by one and show why it's a great play. On Monday's episode, we highlighted Trey Page, formerly of Tarleton State, who is now with Oklahoma State. Big shout out to him. I mentioned that he was a P4 player. Jumps from the FCS straight to the P4. We've got to love that. And I think he's going to do fantastic things in Oklahoma State under Coach Morris. But with that said, this week's episode is actually surrounded by Florida Atlantic quarterback Caden Veltkamp. And we are going to have, I know it says Easton Messer on the search bar there. When we go full screen, but we're going to actually bring up some film and shout out to Brandon Pockrass, who actually is the VP of the League Winners. Shout out to you, for this video from last year's spring game. And now I do wanted to bring this up because give me 1 second here. I did want to bring this up because I think Caden, for those who don't know, Caden transferred to Florida Atlantic from Western Kentucky, and he goes and works now with head coach Zach Kitley, who was trying to recruit him way back when. Now they've reunited, and it feels so good, right? But now Caden actually was dealing with some shoulder issues. He got surgery, and now he looks to be healthy. But this is what I wanted to showcase here, and we're going to highlight this play from last year's spring game. Now, if you look and see here, Florida Atlantic is in a nickel coverage here. They got 4 guys here. They run basically it's a little bit fancy, right? They run a 4-man here with 1 on the 9, and he's going to run on the strong on the tight end side. But they have one of their safeties who creeps up and blitzes, right? Safety. One of the linebackers who comes up and I think that's the nickel actually. Yeah, make sure. Yeah, that's nickel. Makes him. He's actually going to blitz here. We have the 2 linebackers set here. They're going to be running. The defense is going to be running into a cover 3. So when we push play, just look at these. Look at the cornerbacks here and the safety. They're running back, and he gets the middle of the field. They're running a cover 3, and you can follow that up again where the linebackers go into their zone here. You continue to see. Now, they're running it from where they actually have the nickel, who's going to be moving right here. He's actually going to be running out in space. They have the guy on the line at the 9 in space there, and that's actually who they're going to target because this play is going to the tight end. And funny enough, Zach Kitley's offense with the Florida Atlantic Owls didn't utilize the tight ends too often. But we're going to see a nice one here, and they're out of in the shotgun set. And this is going to be a flood concept, by the way. So we'll see the far end wide receiver. He's going to be running a long crossover right there, a long slant, more or less. And then we're going to see the slot receiver. I believe that's Easton Messer. He's going to be running a long crossing over. And we have the outside receiver on the bottom of the screen. He's going to be running a nice little whip technique there. And then we have the tight end who shoots out into the corner. Now, what I want to notice here too is the running back. Look at the way he picks up that blitz, which is perfect. I mean, he gives the quarterback enough time because this concept is going to be a pretty quick concept. Given what the defensive structure is, right? And we're going to pause right here. He's really not going to take a shot on their outside receiver on the far side, unless this was changed to a vertical pre-snap, right? If this is changed to a vertical pre-snap, but based on the coverage, you normally don't take a shot there unless you believe your guy has the feet to get past that defensive back. But in this concept, like I said, it's the flood concept. So he's not really going to do that. He's actually going to be running into the cover 3. As you see these 2 guys, he's going to be basically meeting up with them. So that, and the read on here is quick, right? He looks to where the defense is right here because he was going to go to Easton Messer in the slot, but he sees the safety creeping into the cover 3. Like it's a cover 3 technique on this play. And he's going to see him creeping in, right? You can see him creep down, and that's going to be his zone. His zone's going to be right there. Is he moving down? Because they have him blitzing. So he takes that zone away, right? So he's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. He now realizes the coverage that it's going to be in because you'll see the 2 linebackers also move there as soon as the snap is read, right? As soon as the snap is read, he's looking at the linebackers, but he's moving his eyes to this far side, right? And as soon as he moves his head, and now he did that already. So move. Look, that's the first thing he's doing. So as soon as his eyes are going to this side of the field, right, and you see this guy blitzing right here, he's blitzing down. So the person, this is the safety. He's going to be responsible for the gap in the slot right here. This is going to be his zone. The 2 linebackers, as soon as the snap is ready, Caden Veltkamp's looking on this far side in this angle, more towards like a 1 o'clock nature. He is going to be moving the two linebackers that we see on the screen here. That is why you see them move. So it takes away the move. It takes away the route to Easton Messer. As you can see, he's completely covered now. Even if he's not covered, he's just covered in the situation. The middle of the field is not going to be open right now for Caden Veltkamp. So he's going to take a shot. If he's going to take a shot, it is going to be one of the two options on his closest side, on the weak side of the field, right? And he takes that shot. Now, he actually could have gone to either player, right? If he's able to fit this in. But the reason he holds is because he's got his eyes on him. Whether or not he would be able to make that jump remains to be seen. As we have the downside receiver right here, he's going to be running a nice little hitch come back right there. So you're going to see him going over and then going back to the boundary. Now I want to see this cornerback. He's looking at the cornerback now. And right now, this is where he makes the decision, because the way that this route concept is run too, it opens up for the tight end. So you're going to see wide receiver down here, and the tight end, they're basically going, it's a very, I wouldn't even call it a pick play, because it's not a pick play. The point isn't to rub them. It's just to move just enough to get him. It's very great play design, by the way, by Coach Kitley. So we see the receiver go and stop. If we stop right here, right? So pre-snap, Caden already knew that Easton Messer right here running this little crossing type of route was going to be covered. As soon as he saw the safety move down from his position into this zone, he already knew the coverage was going to be, and the linebackers moved with him on his eyes on the pre-snap. The far wide receiver, he's running more of a deep post-ish kind of route. He's not running a 9. He's not running a vertical route. So that play gets taken away from the defensive concept as well. So it basically leaves these two guys on the bottom. Like I just said, these two guys right here, the tight end and the other receiver on the outside. And because of the route that this receiver runs, we pause right here. It gets him to play a little bit further back, right? Closer. He tries to play close to this wide receiver here. And this cornerback, number 3, his responsibility, even in this cover, is going to make sure that this guy is covered, which allows this tight end right here to get open in the near side flat. And we're going to see, like I said, a great pickup by the running back there. And then we're going to play. Gives it just enough space. Great recovery here, though, by the defender. But look at that throw by Caden Veltkamp. Look at where the ball placement is. Fantastic. Just great throw, man. Oh, my gosh. We could play one more time in the slow-mo before I do a little. Just look at this. Defender, pause it right here. The defender is not even a foot away. He's just not even a foot away. And then he gets it in, throws it on the perfect side. Look at that. And the defender tries to smack at the ball, and he misses. This is just shows how great of a quarterback Caden Veltkamp can be, and probably one of the top in the American. Just look at that ball placement. It's fantastic. It truly is. I play it one more time. But like I said, one of the important things too is this bottom receiver right here. The way that he sets this up allows for that little piece of space to be open for this play to actually occur. We're going to go through again, because look at this. As soon he knows that he's running, he basically has to keep an eye on both players, right? He can only assume that he's going to be running to the outside, but because excuse me, I had a sneeze. I apologize. He knows that the tight end here is probably running to the flat. Like that, considering the play concept, what's most likely to happen is that he's going to be running into the flat here. And because of that, he kind of can cheat a little bit. However, with the bottom receiver playing with that inside, he goes inside instead of trying to take the outside, which is, by the way, this is a fantastic play design by Coach Kitley, because it forces this defender to have to play more towards the back end and away from the tight end that he's covering to try to help with the coverage behind him. So if you see this, if we keep going, so just enough to try to disturb this route, right? He's being taught to try to disturb this route by maintaining coverage here considering that if you're the defender, you know with pretty good certainty that the tight end right here is going to be running into the flat. So because of that, he tries to play as close to this wide receiver as he can before making a break on the tight end. But none of that matters because the ball thrown by Caden Veltkamp is perfect. You see him try to get his hand in there. He tries to smack the ball away. Tries to get there. That receiver is getting hit as soon as that ball is thrown, but that ball is still thrown accurately. And by the way, like I said, shout out to the running back who gives him more than enough time on this blitz pickup. Caden doesn't even feel any pressure here. This is just great blocking too. The blocking up front is fantastic. You like seeing that. The running back does a great job picking up the blitz. It's just a great job, too, by the offense here. Not just because of that. It's because Caden understands exactly what he's doing here. Because at the very beginning of the play, like I said, is more than I'd say greater than, considering this is a Zach Hitley offense, I'd say it's greater than 50% chance that they wanted the play to go here. And they were going to see, based on what the defensive concept was, if they were going to get the ball open to Easton Messer running through the middle of the field. Because if you see this, as soon as the ball snapped, that's where he's looking. He's looking right here. Now, whether that's to get these guys off of that, I lean more towards it probably being a play design for Easton Messer. But let's just take a look at this. One more time. We'll break it down one more time. As soon as the ball snapped, he's looking right here. Gets these two linebackers to start drifting towards their left. Because he's blitzing, he's not responsible for this area. So we see the safety or nickel take this area here. They're playing a cover 3 on the back end, so he's going up, responsible, basically a man coverage on him. Safety plays deep center, and the right cornerback is just basically playing the same thing, making sure not to get beat deep and basically in a one-on-one with him. As we go, he sees that cover. He looks them away, understands what's going to happen, right? He sees him coming down to pay. This is the other great aspect, too, of Caden Veltkamp is because he almost basically instinctively knows, and obviously, working team spring ball, he's going to know the concepts, but as soon as he sees him move up and sees him coming, he knows not to look here, but he knows that this is gone. So right there, and he's not taking the outside because the outside's not running a 9. The outside's running it like a deep post kind of route. So he knows that this side of the field is basically a no-go, but he's going to use his eyes to move these two linebackers to their left to open up space for these two receivers here, the tight end and the wide receiver on the bottom of the screen. Now as he's doing that, right, the wide receiver does a great job playing in, and this is a great route concept too. This is being taught by Kitley to make sure that they try to take away this defender or make sure that this defender gives up as much space between him and the tight end as humanly possible. And it works perfectly here because it gives him just enough space to hit that. And, it's just a nice little, what is it, a nice little 5-yard gain. 6 yards. Probably 6-yard gain with forward momentum. Yeah, they give him 6 yards. Referee at the top of the screen. But it just gives just enough. And this is a great concept. I think depending on when he releases this, that he could have. I mean, if he does a pump fake, maybe he gets one of the, maybe he forces the other cornerback to bite and it kind of ruins that. But I think with the way he's backpedaling here, he could have had a chance to get it to number 7 if 7 is getting designed the play. I think 7 knew he wasn't getting the ball or wasn't running the route hard enough because at this point, right, the ball should have just gone right there. I think he could have potentially got the receiver. I think the reason why Caden probably didn't go here to number 7 is because of the way the route is run. Like he runs the beginning of the route perfectly, right? But the problem stems on his stem, no pun intended, because it looks like he starts to slow down right here. As soon as he makes that cut, he slows down instead of braking quickly. I think Caden wanted to go and was waiting for that speed. The timing seems off on him. Now, the problem is he does such a great job on this part, right? Getting the defender to basically play close to the vest, that he just kind of craps out on the rest of the route. However, the tight end is able to get free because of that, ends up getting a nice little 6-yard completion, and they keep the drive moving. I'm a big fan of Caden Veltkamp and his pre-snap reads and what he's able to do. And I'll play this back again. I'll just keep this on a loop for right now if it keeps going. Just look at the way that ball is fit in. I mean, that's perfect ball placement. It's the outside shoulder so that the defender can't make a play on the ball. As you can see in the play, I'll just bring this back. The defender gets his hand in there, right there. His hand is in there. I'll pause this right here. You see the defender's hand is already in there, but that ball is so well placed that they cannot get it. That is the beauty of Caden Veltkamp. He did it at Western Kentucky when he led them to the Boca Raton Bowl in 2024. He showcased a lot of that last year after a up and down start to the season. He really turned it on last year, and this was what fans were expecting. And this year, I can only imagine it's going to get better with the improvements that Florida Atlantic has made to their football program. I'm a very big fan of Zach Kittley. His offensive schemes are really good, and I will stop sharing this for now. And it didn't bring me on. I apologize for that. I'm a big fan of what Zach Kittley has done with the offense at Florida Atlantic. Caden Veltkamp is a guy that can read the field really well, and his pre-snap reads are really well done too. His quick post-snap reads are fantastic. But he did have shoulder surgery this offseason. He's rehabbing that. He didn't play in this year's spring game, but is expected to play in the summer and fall camps. The offensive coordinator there and just everybody there, they're saying 6,000 yards for Caden. Probably a little unrealistic, but with that being said, I mean, Caden's a guy that he could probably hit 5K if the offense does what they need to do, and they can get a little bit of a ground game going too. And if they convert more on these fourth down situations that they had in last year, that FAU team would have been a lot different looking. With that being said, this year I'm expecting big things out of FAU. The continuity that they have there with Veltkamp and Zach Kittley is great. Not to mention Easton Messer and the chemistry that he has with Veltkamp. They're really good friends. So I'm excited to see what those two guys are able to do this year too. Also, shout out to Caden Shields-Dutton, the running back for Florida Atlantic. But that said, that is the Film Room Flash. We'll wrap that up, and we'll get right back towards our final closing moments of the show. All right, I hope you guys like that Film Room Flash. We went under Caden Veltkamp from Florida Atlantic, and his great pre-snap, post-snap read and his ball placement was fantastic. We talked about Lane Kiffin's comments against Ole Miss. We talked about Steve Sarkisian having some comments about Ole Miss as well, and then we saw Florida's John Summerall come in. If you missed the morning huddle, I'll briefly go over that. We went over the 2025 FBS revenue from the fiscal year of 2025. RB Ahmad Hardy, the running back from Missouri, was shot. USC's Charles Young, first All-American tight end, passed away. ESPN announced College Game Day will be in Baton Rouge to start 2026, so we'll see some Lane Kiffin there. Wide receiver Jabari Watkins canceled his FSU visit, so keep an eye on what he does in the future. And the ACC ADs and coaches at their spring meeting have shown full support behind a 24-team college football playoff. Now, with that being said, like I said, Wednesday is usually a quick show. We run 8 to 9. Friday show will be 8 to 10. This Friday show is actually going to be very fantastic. I can't wait for this one because at 9 o'clock, we will have Scotty Rogers of the Cotton Bowl, VP of Communications of the Cotton Bowl on Friday's show. And then at 9:30, bottom of the hour on Friday, we will have former UAlbany head coach Jared Ambrose on the show to talk about the state of college football, the FCS, and a bunch of other things as well. It's going to be very great, action-packed. We'll have some fantastic stuff for you, and I can't wait to do that. Now, like I said, this is a live show. We are completely live. Storm's getting a little bit bad outside, so I'm probably going to tune out this one a little bit early. With that being said, though, if you guys watch the show and you have any comments or questions, or if there's a player you guys want me to highlight for the Film Room Flash segment of the show, please just let me know. I'll make sure to do it. Give me 24, 48 hours if you comment after this show airs, and I will always make sure to get back to you guys. I appreciate everybody who's been watching right now. Please make sure to click that like button. It's completely free to do so. Don't forget to retweet, share the show. And if you are watching and don't forget to find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio, everywhere you find your favorite shows and podcasts. Make sure to give us a like on there. With that being said, this is Thomas Christopher of the League Winners, and we are wrapping up today's show of Mr. Gridiron. Stay tuned and come with us on Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll be waiting for you.